We are back for NFL DFS, and we are leaning into matchups, recent form, and dash rank to explain the why behind every pick. Okay, quarterbacks first. We are stacking Joe Burrow against the Browns. Burrow sits at a 100 dash rank with a salary of 6,900, and Cleveland have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 23. He brings both ceiling and stability, averaging 24 fantasy points per game, with a scoring run of 40, 23, and 20 in his last three. He is projected for 20, which we consider reliable for a QB with extensive starts, and the correlation with our Bengals pieces makes this a priority stack. The news supports confidence too. Multiple outlets are calling Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow two of the best overall fantasy quarterbacks ahead of 2025, reinforcing the idea that we want to be early on elite efficiency in a soft matchup. Ownership looks surprisingly light, which gives us leverage on a premium ceiling. If we need salary relief, we can drop to Spencer Rattler at 4,800. Arizona have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall with an opponent rank of 17, and his recent outputs of 15, 7, and 9 show functional floor for the price with an 11 fantasy points per game average. The projection of 7 is less bankable, given he has not cemented long-term starts in New Orleans, and the QB competition is alive per multiple camp reports. But that same competition narrative gives us a chance to be early if he is named the guy. Or gets a long leash. This is a large field tournament, sprinkle only, with ownership likely muted. Running backs next. We like Devon Achane at 6,900 versus the Colts, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 28. Achane's 100 dash rank captures the volatility we want in GPPs, with a last 3 of 6, 34, and 15 and an 18 fantasy points per game average. He is projected for 17 and can beat that if Miami's explosive offense generates short fields. We are monitoring his status closely since he is questionable, and Miami coach Mike McDaniel offered a crucial update on Achane's injury ahead of the season, so we will confirm inactives and be ready to pivot if needed. If active, we expect his efficiency and touchdown equity to play up in this matchup. Ownership should be restrained due to the tag, which increases his tournament appeal. For value, Michael Carter at 4,100 is a viable salary saver against the Saints, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 26. Carter has quietly produced 10, 10, and 3 in his last 3, with a 12 fantasy points per game average, and at this salary we are paying for opportunity cost relief, not certainty. His dash rank is 100 for the price tier, and any pass game involvement or short yardage work would push him over the line. We prefer him in lineups that spend up at receiver and tight end. Wide receivers. And we are pairing Burrow with Jamar Chase at AI 100. Cleveland have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 23. And Chase's consistency stands out with 22, 22, and 18. In his last 3 and an elite 25 fantasy points per game average. He is projected for 20, and the stack gives us correlation with massive upside. Training camp reports have the Bengals in rhythm heading into 2025, and we want to bet on elite talent in a favorable matchup. If field sentiment suppresses his ownership because of other chalky receivers, we gain even more leverage. For a value dart, we like Xavier Legette at 4,200 against the Jaguars, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 31. Legette's recent outputs of 8, 0, and 3, with an 8 fantasy points per game average, highlight volatility. But the matchup and price open the door for a spike week. He is a second-year riser who has been flagged among the NFL's rising talents, and this is the right environment to take a low-owned shot. Tight ends now. Trey McBride at 6,200 has a 100 dash rank and draws the Saints, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 26. He has a 16 fantasy points per game average and just posted 33, 5, and 18 in his last 3, with a 15-point projection that we think is attainable on volume alone. The news is strong. Arizona locked him up on a record extension, dethroning Travis Kelce as the highest-paid tight end, which signals featured usage and red zone prioritization. We are comfortable paying up here because tight end separation is valuable on most slates. For a punt, Brenton Strange at 3,300 faces the Panthers, who have the absolute worst defense overall with an opponent rank of 32. He carries a 100 dash rank for the price tier, is projected for 7, and has the recent outputs of 0, 3, and 18, showing a demonstrated spike ceiling. Reports have floated Strange as a 2024-2025 breakout candidate, and with this matchup, we only need moderate usage to pay off the tag. Flex time. Puka Nacua at 7,600 gets the Texans, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, with an opponent rank of 15. Puka's last 3 of 16, 10, and 26, with a 20 fantasy points per game average and a 17-point projection, put him right in the sweet spot for one-off ceiling. News this offseason noted the Rams pairing Puka with Davante Adams, which should stress defenses and limit bracket coverage on Puka, turning him into an even more dangerous intermediate and YAC weapon. The Rams do face a tough schedule overall per reports, but this specific matchup sits squarely in the attackable range. If we need to pay down further, Jalen Coker at 3,700 also benefits from Jacksonville having one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 31. His recent 6, 3, and 24 shows true boom-bust dynamics, and that is precisely what we want in a cheap flex. Ownership should be minimal, and he fits stacks or bringbacks in Panthers-Jaguars constructions, defense and special teams. We like the Packers' defense at 2,900 against the Lions. Detroit's opponent rank is 26, meaning they have one of the worst defenses overall, but our angle is the Packers' recent DST scoring of 3, 17, and 15, showing sack and turnover upside with a projection of 6. At this salary, we are chasing pressure rate and game script. This unit has flashed a multi-sack ceiling recently, and we will take that in tournaments. For a punt, the Titans' defense at 2,200 against the Broncos lets us jam studs. Denver's opponent rank is 19, which indicates a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and the Titans' recent DST scoring of 3, -1, and 6 reflects volatility. This is a price play to unlock salary, and we would only use it in lineups that lean heavily into premium stacks elsewhere. To tie it together, our core is the Bengals stack with Burrow and Chase against one of the worst defenses overall, supported by elite form and news-backed confidence, a bring-back or secondary stack via cheap Panthers pieces in an elite matchup versus Jacksonville, and leverage tight end upside with McBride, whose record extension underscores his role. We will monitor Akane's status after the coach's latest update and pivot if needed. But if he is active, we love the explosive profile against one of the worst defenses overall. Ownership looks restrained on several of these plays, giving us a path to differentiated lineups without sacrificing projection.